During the 1920s, also referred to as the Roaring Twenties, was a time when the US made historic leaps in pop culture. A big part of the 20s was jazz. It really took off during the 1920s. It developed into a universal sensation as it traveled from region to region. Jazz influenced poetry, art, and ways of life. Jazz was invented in 1895 by Buddy Bolden, an African American in New Orleans. Unfortunately, controversy surrounded the invention as it was largely attributed to lower class citizens, specifically people of color. But jazz spread to major city centers and was picked up by the upper class. This allowed for jazz to grow and people to fall in love with it. The Jazz Age was highly influenced by this music, which influenced fashion, movies, and ways of life. Some of the most popular jazz musicians of this time were King Oliver, Duke Ellington, and Fats Waller. Some of the most popular songs in the 20s were Black Beauty by Duke Ellington, Too Late by King Oliver, as well as Handful of Keys by Fats Waller. Another big part of the 20s was fashion. Fashion in the 20s became less about looking prim and proper and more about comfort. Men's pants became loose and it became less common for women to wear corsets and tight dresses, and much to the dismay of older generations, women began to let their ankles show. This began the age of the flapper fashion. Women's fashion was dominated by flapper dresses, shorter skirts, and heels. The cloche hat was an iconic look during this time period. Everything was sequenced or coupled with fur, dresses, and lower waistlines. Colors were bright and pale, often mixed together. The fashion trends of men didn't change as drastically. A more relaxed fit was known for pants, ties no longer considered a necessity. Clothing reflects the theme of the Roaring Twenties, laid back and fun. Icons in movies were a big part of the 1920s. Josephine Baker was a dancer and served as a muse for Fitzgerald, Hemingway, and Langston Hughes. Many other dancers and fashion icons ruled the 20s. Al Capone was a very notable figure during this time as a bootlegger and master of organized crime. Salvador Dali also attributes a lot of his fame to this time period. This was the same time period where Charlie Chaplin rose to fame. Some of the more notable movies being The Jazz Singer, The Gold Rush, and Metropolis. The movies of the 1920s began to vary from genre to genre, giving more perspectives on the human condition. Long-lasting stars and studios appeared, including Warner Brothers. These movies set the tone for films for decades.